Welcome to the Courageous Self-Care Experience with self-care expert, embodiment coach, four-time author, and your spiritual ninja guide, Christina Marlette. This is your go-to show for high-achieving, spiritually curious women who are done with burnout, over the hustle, and ready to feel fully alive and energized. You'll get a powerful mix of soulful wisdom, rebellious truth bombs, and energy practices that actually work. So now, please welcome the host of the Courageous Self-Care Experience, Christina Marlette.
Hi, I'm your host, Christina Marlette, and this is the Courageous Self-Care Experience streaming on Bold Brave TV. We're streaming on multiple platforms, and you can find us at the replays of the show on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and most major streaming platforms. All right, so let's dive in. First of all, I would like to give you a funny story. I did my nails this morning, and I have this fantastic nail system. And as I was doing them, I thought, wow, like one hand is a very different color. And so this is the first set of nails, which I love. And then I started doing the other hand, and I don't know if you can see, it's quite different. See, this one's whiter and this one's more purple. So if you like, you can vote and say which one you like better. Do you like the white one on the left hand, or do you like the purpley one on the right hand? And the old version of me would have just hit it and not said anything. But now that I have courageous self-care in my life, I share more and I'm just more open, and I like to bring humor into things. So I think that's super funny. Maybe it'll be a new trend. One hand, one color, and one hand, the other color. So a different color. All right, so let's dive into our timely teaching for this week. And what we're doing today is coming from my book, my latest book, Not Your Mama's Self-Care Guide, because she probably had none, so you should read this. And here is what I want to share with you. So first of all, self-care, there's a misconception around it that deserving is all wrapped up in it. Like, do I merit self-care? Am I good enough for self-care? Do I deserve to take care of myself? And that is just the wrong lens to look through it. Of course, everyone deserves self-care. And so that's not a part of the question. The issue is that self-care is a skill set. Everyone deserves to learn new skills that they're interested in and that will bring vibrancy and energy and health to their lives, right? So that is something that's super important to know. Self-care isn't about deserving. It is about a skill set. And we can all learn new things. Fantastic. We are great at learning. And the other thing to remember about a skill set is that you might not be super good at it the first time you try it. We get this weird thing as adults where we think we're just supposed to be masterful at something the first time that we do it. Like if you picked up the violin today and you haven't played it before, would you be masterful tomorrow? No, absolutely not. So we need to give ourselves some grace. And when we're learning new things, we learn them and we implement them. I love to do case studies. So if something new comes into my life and I want to implement it, then I set up a case study, a trial. And I do it for a week or whatever, a couple weeks. And then I assess and see how it's going. And whatever information comes back that's working, great, keep doing it. And if something comes back and it's not working all that well, fine, change it. So it's never life or death. It's not high stakes. We're just learning a new skill, and self-care can be part of that. So that's part one. Part two of our timely teaching is that the best self-care is strategic. It is not vague. And I notice a lot of highly productive women, high-achieving women, the self-care just tends to go down on the list, if it even makes it at all. And it's the first thing to disappear when things get intense. And of course, self-care is going to do the very thing that we need. It's going to reduce the stress. It's going to help us be more productive in less time and do a better job of it. And so I like to think of it as the number one priority. And it's strategic. We want to be doing things that make a difference, not just this vague idea of, oh, yeah, maybe that was self-care, maybe not. I went for a walk. Is that good enough? I do that like once a week. No, we need to be specific and strategic. So it's not this vague idea. And so to bring us into the third part of the timely teaching, in my book, there is a process. It's the strategic self-care process. And this is the process that helps us become more masterful at the skill set of self-care. So it's not vague and it's not a deserving thing. It is a process. Don't you love processes? They can be so helpful when you know what to do. So the process has 3 steps. Any good process will have some steps to it. And they are, number 1, get curious. Number 2, get connected. And number 3, get creating. So let's dive into those a little bit further. First of all, when you're approaching a new topic or a new skill set, or you want to improve at something, you want to first get curious about it. And there are some questions that can help you do that. So they can be questions like, what do I think about whatever this topic is? What do I know about it? What is there anything else I could learn about it? And then what are my habits and beliefs and thoughts around this topic? And I'm going to give you an example after we go through all of this. And if you need to go back to this, of course, you could watch or listen to this again, or you could find it in the book. So that's get curious. We're just getting curious about the topic, and we probably have some beliefs around it. So we want to unearth those beliefs to see if they're serving us or not. And also same thing with our habits. All right, so that's part 1, step 1. Step 2 is get connected. So you want to get connected with what you actually desire. Last episode, we talked about courage and how there is fear involved when we're being courageous, and then there's something on the other side. And that's what we connect with and get drawn towards through the fear. That's what being courageous means. And so we want to get connected to what's on the other side of whatever it is that we're learning about. And what do you really want? And how would you love to get there? And what's the biggest dream you could dream about this particular topic for yourself? So that's the step number 2, getting connected. And then step number 3 is get creating. So it's not get creative. We are creators. We're made of creative energy. We're all creative. So just claim that for yourself. What the third step is actioning. How can I get creating in this topic, in this skill set, so that it makes a difference? So I have an example for these 3 steps that will help illustrate it. So yesterday I was speaking with a young woman and she was feeling burnt out. That is why so many people come to me. And I said, okay, so let's get curious about that. And so she told me what she had done the previous week. So this week her body was not feeling super energetic. I said, what did you do last week? And she said, well, I did 2 Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu classes. I did weights another day. I did Taekwondo another day. And then I did parkour, which is, running and flipping and jumping around, and some gymnastics. And I said, okay, let's get curious about this. Do you think that is enough? Do you think you had enough rest time in between? And so that was a question that we explored. And I also said, why are you doing all of this? And so she reflected on that a little bit. And I said, why do you think you're doing 2 martial arts at the same time? And she said, well, it's in alignment with my goals for myself. I want to get 5 black belts in my lifetime. And she already had 1 in a different kind of martial arts, mixed martial arts. And I said, okay, let's get curious about that. Why do you want 5 black belts? And she didn't really have an answer. She didn't have clarity around that. So I said, let's get connected. Let's connect with your dreams for yourself. What are your biggest dreams? And her biggest dreams were not to be a martial artist, actually, and not to have 5 black belts necessarily. Her dreams were very different for herself. And so it was very helpful to get connected and figure out, where is this actually coming from? And so what we unearthed was that she wanted to feel strong and not weak. And I said, okay, So do you think this is the only way that you can feel strong? And are you just wanting to feel strong in your body? Or are you wanting to feel strong in your inner world as well? So we had a great conversation about that. And what I shared with her is so the benefit, so we got curious, and then we were connecting with her actual desires. Why was she wanting this? And the very useful piece of information there that I shared with her is that when we have this goal for ourselves or we have a vision for ourselves, it's not actually the outer world outcome that we're most interested in. What we're actually headed towards is the feeling that it gives us, a vibration. And anything that we want, it's actually, we've identified with our heart, with our soul, that is the vibration that's really important for us right now and that we're moving into. We're heading into that new vibration. So I said, yes, those things can make you feel strong. Do you think there's other ways you could feel strong too? And like definitely in a physical way, and then also in just your inner world. So she reflected on that and came up with some ideas about how else she could feel strong. And I shared one of my practices, which I have 3 vibrations that I work with at a time. And they're the 3 that I've identified that are feeling the most important to me. And then every day I reflect and ask myself, okay, how did that vibration show up in my day? Like one of the vibrations that I play with every day is victorious or victory, 2 separate things. And I ask myself, okay, what were some victorious moments in my day today? And then I replay my day and I come up with as many moments of victory as I can. And it feels so good to relive them and experience them a second time. So that's actually what we're doing when we're getting connected. We're identifying what is the vibration that I'm heading towards, what feels important, and what are some ideas on how I could get there. And then we want to detach from the outer world experience of it. We want to make it a feeling experience, because if you just focus on this is the only way I can get it, like in this example, the only way that she thought she could feel strong was BJJ, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, very often, and then lifting weights, and then Taekwondo, and then parkour and gymnastics. And we explored, well, maybe you could feel strong in some other ways too. And when you bring your attention to the vibration of it and the feeling, it becomes so different, because it's like so many more possibilities show up for that vibration to come to you. One year I worked with the vibration of I am important. For whatever reason, I was not feeling important in my own life. And so I just started declaring I am important. And then I would ask myself, how did I feel important today? And so many circumstances came up to support the vibration and the declaration I am important that I never would have imagined would have resulted in me feeling that way. So this is getting connected. That's step 2. And then step 3 is get creating. So this is your action plan. As a high achiever, I know for me, I love to have a plan. How am I going to make this happen or allow this to unfold? So we talked about, in the example, the young woman, we talked about, do you need to do all of those things? Like, how long were you lifting weights? And well, it was an hour and a half. I said, maybe you could cut that down. Maybe you could do a 20-minute weight workout, maybe twice a week instead. And maybe you cut down on the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu since it's not actually in alignment with your goals and dreams for yourself. And so she's going to experiment. So this is an example of the strategic self-care process. It has the 3 parts to it, and they are get curious, get connected, and get creating. And this is so that we can build the skill set of courageous self-care and make it strategic rather than vague. So let's take a short break here. So I'm your host, Christina Marlette. You've been watching, here we are with the Courageous Self-Care Experience. And we're just going to have a short word from our sponsors, and then we'll be right back with our Embodied Energy Flow activity.
Mike Zorich, a 3-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a 6-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2 thirds, and 2 fourths. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorich, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorich has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk on the BBM Global Network.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back. This is the Courageous Self-Care Experience. I am your host, Christina Marlette, and I'm just going to fix this a little bit. All right, I'm getting all set up for the Embodied Energy Flow, and this is a standing up part, so you can do it sitting, but I'm going to do it standing up, and so away we go. Now, on the show, every time we do an Embodied Energy Flow, this is an example of some strategic self-care. And this is something that I do lots of embodied energy flow every day, because if something isn't showing up in our lives, vibrationally speaking, to tie it back to the last part, it just means that it's not embodied yet. The vibration, the frequency, the feeling as an energy hasn't taken up residence in your physical body. So we want to do embodied energy flow practices every day to bring those vibrations into the body, into the cells, into the space in between the cells at the atomic level, going quantum here again, seems to happen every time. And so we want to make space in the body and expand it and open it up to allow the energy to flow through. So last show, we started off with my affirmative stretching practice that I do every day. It's a combination of affirmations and then getting the body involved to make the affirmations more powerful and to help them land right in the body. So this, we're going to continue with that today. Part 1 was last week. Here's part 2, and then we'll have some more parts in upcoming shows. And what we're working with here is our experience of presence. So ultimately, every human being, whether they know it or not, wants to be present. They want to be fully present. And when I first heard that, I was like, what does that mean? Am I narrating what I'm doing all day long? Is that how you be present? And how can I make plans? That's about the future. And how can I think about things that I want to improve or like reflect on things? That's the past. I don't get it. And then the awareness came into my life. I'm not sure exactly from where, but read it or heard it somewhere, that ultimately presence is about being able to accept everything that's happened in the past and embrace it and know that it's serving our highest expansion. And then we also want to be able to connect with the future, not in the way that most people connect with it, like fear of the unknown. That is the ego's greatest fear, is the unknown. So do we want to be filled with dread about the future, or do we want to have arms wide open and look towards the future with a sense of anticipation and delight? Yes, that is the one that I choose. And so when we can embrace everything that's happened in the past, and we can look forward to the future with arms wide open. That helps us be fully present. We don't have lingering things energetically of that should never have happened, or why did that happen, or why did that person do that? And then also a vague sense of anxiety about the future. That's not the best way to live life. I certainly don't want to live that way. So I do this part of the affirmative stretching to improve my relationship with the past, improve my relationship with the future, and then be fully present. So the physical part of this is we're going to do this with the arms. So it's like the backstroke, and it's like you're dipping into the past and bringing it into the present. And then there are 3 different affirmations. So you can do this sitting or standing. If you're listening to just the podcast and you don't have the visual, you're circling your arms backward like you're doing the backstroke. And the first affirmation is, I accept the past. And then take a big breath in and out. And then the second affirmation is, I embrace the past. And breathe that in and breathe it out. And the third one is, I integrate the past. And breathe that in and exhale. And then bring your arms into stillness. So that's part 1 of 3 that we're doing today. And let's just talk about those briefly. So I accept the past. Literally, we're accepting everything that's ever happened. And how do we know that it was supposed to happen? Because it did. We can't argue with reality. This is a great teaching from Byron Katie. You can't argue with the truth. So if it happened, it doesn't mean that, yay, that was the best thing ever. It could be the worst thing ever. And if we can accept it, we bring so much more of ourselves on board online, and we trust that everything serves, even the worst things possible. They are serving. They don't necessarily feel good, but they're serving your expansion, like we talked about in a previous show. We're here to expand, and we're here for growth at our soulful level. And the most impactful ways that we learn are through our challenges. They help us grow and expand, and they serve our highest good because we came here to grow and expand. That's why it ends up being good, is because we're here for expansion. That's the name of the game. As a soulful being, we're here for expansion. And so we all have agreements as soulful beings with each other. We are in service to each other. And so that's why it's valuable to accept it. The more you accept, the less you have energy lingering in the past. That drains your energy when you've got energy and focus remaining in the past. So here we accept it. We bring it on board online into this present moment. Then we did, I embrace the past. So we can embrace the feelings that continue to show up about the past. We can embrace that we're here for expansion. So those are some ideas around that and some explanations. And then we integrate the past. And so when we have an emotional body and we have a mental body, and they are kind of on the outside of us. We have physical anatomy and we have invisible anatomy. And when we have energy, stuck energy like emotions, stuck in our emotional body, they cause havoc. And so, like for instance, anger might show up for a person over and over and over. It means it's stuck energy in the emotional body. And what we do is when we integrate it, we bring it into our central core, our central being that's made of love and light. And love is the highest vibration. It dissolves anything that's unlike itself. When we bring emotions like anger into the core, anger actually evolves and integrates into passion. So that is why we would want to integrate those emotions that don't feel as pleasant. They are more uncomfortable. They are not as familiar. So when we integrate, we become super powerful because we're using them in ways that serve us and propel us forward. So that's dipping into the past. Now, part 2 is arms forward, like the front crawl, and we're in the present and we're dipping into the future. Now, this one is, the first affirmation is, I'm looking forward to the future. And take a breath. I like to close my eyes while I'm doing it. And then I'm excited for my future. and a breath. And then I love my future. And breathe in and out. And then bring your arms to rest. All right, so let's just dissect those ones a little bit. I am looking forward to my future. It's so valuable to have something every day that you're looking forward to, ideally in that day, and definitely in the more distant future as well. So that's part of my self-care practices. I always ensure that I have something to look forward to. Like in a few days, I'm getting a massage. Yay! And part of enjoying the massage is looking forward to it for a month. So I generally ensure that I have one of those on the calendar. What else am I looking forward to? Today I'm looking forward to my walk. It's a sunny day. I'm so excited to go outside. So have things, they don't have to be big things. They can be small things. I'm also doing a yoga retreat in Panama later this month. I've been looking forward to that for almost a year. So it's nice to have immediate things and things in the near future and then distant things as well. So looking forward to something, I'm looking forward to my future, and then I'm excited about my future. Why not? We can choose. So we can either be fearful about it or we can be excited. And I love the idea of approaching the future like an Easter egg hunt, like that sense of anticipation and delight and wonderful things are on their way. So we can look towards the future like that. It's a habit, it's a practice, it's a belief system. And this helps to embody that. When we get the arms going and we dip into the future and we do this affirmative stretching, it helps to bring that right into the body. And it might not feel like it initially. That's the thing about affirmations. They don't necessarily feel true, but we're taking them from the conscious and we're indicating, yes, this is how I want to feel. And the more we do them, especially by incorporating the embodiment, we are bringing it into the subconscious mind. And so we can program positively, we can positively program the subconscious mind to be on board with what we actually want for ourselves. So that is, I'm excited for the future. And then the third part is, I love my future. Why not? Again, we can have the perspective of, oh, I don't know when the other shoe's going to drop. And that doesn't feel good. And since we get to choose our beliefs, we might as well choose the ones that feel the best. So why not love your future? It's a choice. And again, this embodiment, this movement of bringing the arms in the front crawl position, it helps bring that into your heart. It brings it into your cells. It brings it into the space in between the cells. So that is that part. All right. And then part 3 is I am present. So we're just going to declare that. And the movement for this is to start with your hands just beside your hips and then slowly raise them up and declare. And you can either say these out loud or in your mind, I am present. And be so present as the arms move through the space. So you bring them up overhead and then exhale them back down. So you want to feel your hands and arms moving through space. And we do that again. Inhale, arms up. I am present. And exhale them down. And once more, I am present. And inhale and exhale. Beautiful. And then just close your eyes for a moment and notice how you feel. And take a breath in. And open your mouth, let it out with a sigh. So this can be a standalone practice. If you do it every day, that would be strategic. That would be self-care. And it will help you shift your relationship with the past. It will help you shift your relationship with the future. And it helps you bring yourself into the present all the time. So that is our embodied energy flow practice for today. And the other thing is sometimes when I'm doing the I am present part, I notice I'm thinking about something else. So often I need to do it again, another 3 times. And if you find your mind wandering, just bring it back to the sensation of the hands moving up and down through the air, the shoulder joints of the body as it moves through space. So that's my tip on that one. All right, we're coming up to a sponsor break. I'm your host, Christina Marlette. You're watching the Courageous Self-Care Experience on Bold Brave TV, and we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network, and tune in radio as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Welcome back. I'm your host, Christina Marlette, and you're watching the Courageous Self-Care Experience on Bold, Brave TV. All right, I'm not standing up anymore, so adjusting the screen there. All right, so we're coming into our Q&A and coaching section. And of course, if you have a question or want some laser coaching, you can call in at 1-866-451-1451. And I always have questions at the ready. So I had a client this week who asked a great question, and she said, you should use this on your show. So we're going to do that. All right. So her question was, she was staying with she had some in-laws over, and she noticed, so we've been working together for a few years now, and she's definitely on a spiritual journey. And she was horrified to find that she was feeling very judgmental about one of the relatives that she was staying with. And she thought, as we often do when we're on the spiritual path, she thought, I thought I dealt with this. Why am I judging this woman? And she was horrified at how come that was showing up. She thought she had dealt with that. So first thing to know, when we think we've dealt with something, well, there's always more to uncover. We are like onions. It's an analogy that comes up often in our spiritual growth. And we always have another layer to get to. And so the first thing to know, whether it's about judgment, you thought you were done judging people, and then, oh no, you're judging someone, or anything else in life. Like I remember one time a few years ago, I had done so much work around anger. And then it showed up again one day so intensely. And I just thought, I'm so angry that I'm feeling angry. I thought I was done with this. And so that is not the perspective at all. When we get to deeper and deeper levels of it, it will show up in a very intense way because it's on its way out. It's up for us to be able to integrate. It gets revealed to be healed. So that is something that's so important to know. We will never, maybe not never, but it would take, we never know. So if something shows up, it's because of the work we've been doing. It's not because you're a failure or it didn't work or your efforts were in vain. No, it's because you've done such great work that you're getting to the core of it, you're getting to the root of it, and it's up for evolution. Things get revealed to be healed. All right, so let's come back to this question around judgment. I have a process that I created around judgment because I also noticed, so for a long time, I didn't know about judgment really. I didn't have an awareness around it. And then I became aware and I thought, oh, I don't want to be judging other people. That doesn't feel good now that I know that I'm doing it. Noted. And I remember one day a guy I was in my car and a guy walked by in a cloud of smoke and he just didn't look very healthy or happy. And I noticed, oh, I just judged that guy. Oops, I thought I wasn't going to do that anymore. And I realized, oh, so many, like 3 things have happened here. And so over time, I created a process around it because of what I noticed. So my process is called the atomic judging process. So atoms, again, we're going quantum. Atoms have 3 parts to them. So the atom is the smallest version of who we are at an energetic level. And every atom has a proton, an electron, and a neutron. So it has the positive magnet side, it has the negative magnet side, and it has the nucleus at the center, the neutron. So the atomic judgment process is this. First, we address the electron, the negative energy of it. So we set the intention, first of all, I'm going to notice when I'm judging people. And that is the negative. We don't want to necessarily live in that energy and continue with it. And so we visit the electron and we just notice, oh, I judged. Okay. And so that's part 1. You just set the intention to start noticing if and when there is judgment happening. And then part 2 is go to the positive side, the polar opposite. This is the proton part of the atomic judgment process. And what we do there is rather than dwell in the negative energy, we bring a positive aspect to it by saying the exact opposite. So with this guy that I judged, the first time I really had awareness that I was judging, I noticed that I judged him, and then I said, okay, exact opposite. What could I energetically send him? And so I just put my hands on my heart and I just sent him like, I'm wishing you love, and I'm sending you abundance, and I'm sending you so much health and vitality and energy. And so energetically, he got a blast of, well, first the judgment, and then he got a blast of love, which like I said before, dissolves anything unlike itself. So that helped to neutralize the energy and feel better. And so I talked with my client about this, and she said, oh, yes, I started doing that. I was sending her love all week, even though I kept judging her. I kept coming back to love and also noticing the parts that I loved and that I admired and what I appreciated about her. So she was already in the atomic judgment process with the positive. And then the third step, this one is the most important, is we want to come to the neutron, the neutralizing energy, and we want to forgive ourselves for judging. There is a part of us that is a judger, and it is part of the human experience. We even have a position, a job called a judge. So it must be important in some respects. Like, we do need to have good judgment to not step out on the road when traffic is coming, right? So judgment, like everything else, isn't all a negative. And the most important thing is that we can learn to love and embrace all the parts of ourselves. So this is where the neutron comes in, the neutralizer. We want to love the judger. Love the part of you that is judging, because again, love is always the answer. Love is the highest vibration. It will dissolve anything unlike itself. So I noticed with my client, and I noticed with myself over and over before I developed this atomic judgment process, I just felt terrible. I thought I was a bad person. So then I was judging myself. And we can be the harshest on ourselves. Like, have you ever noticed? I've worked with this, so it doesn't happen so hardly ever anymore. But initially, the judger in my mind was so mean to myself. It was incredibly harsh. And not only was I judging others, but then I was judging myself for judging the others and then beating myself up. So that's a vicious cycle. And that's why we want to work with this new idea of atomic judgment, where we notice the judgment and then we send love and positivity, and then we forgive ourselves and give ourselves love, especially this part, this judger that is showing up for a reason. Guess why it's showing up? Because it wants love. That's the only reason any part of us ever shows up. Like maybe the perfectionistic part shows up. It's not showing up to make things perfect. It's showing up because it's a part of you that wants love. Same thing with the inner critic, which is similar to the judger. It's not showing up because there's something wrong with you. It's showing up because it's a part of you that wants love. So how do we do that? Well, first, we can go through this atomic judgment process. And for step 3 specifically, to neutralize the energy, here's what we can do. You can, if you're by yourself, you can say, oh, judger, you are so cute. Look at you trying to make the world a better place with your harsh judgments. That is adorable. It's not going to work. But what I can do is love you. And so like you would speak to this part of you like you would speak to an adorable child or a pet that could just do no wrong, and bring your vast capacity. Like actually we're made of love. We're made of light, which is love. And we have a huge capacity to be able to pour love in. One of the best uses for that love is to pour it into yourself, into the parts that feel unlovable. Your life changes. I can attest to that. It used to be so dangerous to walk down the alleys of my mind. It was a very harsh and critical place. Nothing was ever good enough. It was perfection. It was about getting things right. It was about everything external. Like if I can just do well enough, then people will like me. And when I started to learn how to love myself and bring this positivity and this acceptance and this love towards those, what I had considered to be unlovable parts, everything changed. It turned that inner critic, that inner judge, into an inner cheerleader. So I hardly have judgmental thoughts towards myself anymore. And because of this atomic judgment process, I've learned to definitely sometimes there's still judgment of others, and I notice it right away. And then I do this process. I send them love, like the exact opposite of the judgment I sent. And then I love myself and forgive that judger because it's just showing up to get some love. So that is part of what we talked about with my client, and she felt like that was quite supportive. And then the other thing that I talked about was, there were several things. Let me distill it into what would be helpful for us. So yeah, the other part was that she had already landed on was focusing on the positives. And the other thing about judging that can happen is it can help us become really secure and value the parts of us that are different. So judging it's separative. It separates them from us, their qualities from us. And what we want to come into is unification. We want to come into oneness and not have that separation. That separation is rampant in the human condition, and it causes us to feel alone when we're actually not. It causes us to feel lesser than when we're actually not. It causes us all this separation. And so whenever I notice a judgment coming through me, I also, in addition to sending the positive vibes, doing the atomic judgment process and forgiving and loving that part of myself, I also use it to identify like what in that is actually really important to me. So, for example, one time I was on a hike and some people showed up on the hike and they had been hiking for hours because it was cloudy and they just wanted to get off the trail. They told us this and be done. Because there were no views that day, and it was a place known for its views. And I thought about it as I was hiking afterwards, and I thought, okay, I definitely judge them for that. And I noticed, okay, so what's different that I love about me? Well, I will hike in any weather. It's not about the views. It's about the hike. It's about the whole experience. I'm not focused on it being a certain way. And I thought, wow, I love that about myself. I'm so glad that that showed up so I could identify this part of me that maybe was under the radar, and now I can love it even more. So that's another part of judgment that can be super helpful. Like, wow, I would never show up that way. I love that about myself. I love that I have this quality of whatever. So that is another part of what can be helpful when you notice yourself judging and what you can do about it. All right, so we are coming up to our last sponsor break. When we come back, we're going to go into the aligned action portion so that we can get clear on what we're going to do moving forward between now and the next show. So I'm your host, Christina Marlette. You're watching the Courageous Self-Care Experience on Bold Brave TV, and we'll be back after this brief word from our sponsors.
Mike Zorek, a three-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a six-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2/3, and 2/4. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorek, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorek has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk on the BBM Global Network.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Hello, welcome back. You're watching or listening to the Courageous Self-Care Experience. I'm your host, Christina Marlette. We are coming into the final portion of our show today, and this is the aligned action. Being aligned is one of the most valuable experiences we can have. And sometimes I have clients ask me, what does that even mean? Aligned means you are secure in your core with who you actually are and what's important to you. Part of it is knowing your values. Part of it is being so clear on who you are at your core that you can feel what's best for you. You can feel what's true for you. You can feel your the immense power of who you are. And when we take aligned action, it's very different from how I used to show up. I used to just do a lot and hope that something would work. And now that I have, through an embodied energy flow practices and what I've been sharing with you on this episode and the previous ones and what I will continue to share with you, all of that is helping to become more aligned in the core. When we are thinking about why did that happen? What can I do about that? When we're strategizing, ruminating, overthinking, we are not in the core at all. The energy is actually way out in the mental body where it's scattered and dispersed. And we want to consistently bring our energy back into the core. The core is the truth of who we are. It is a column of energy and light that in the ancient tradition of Ayurveda, the science and philosophy of living your best life from India, it is a column of light and energy at the core that is focused, and we have most, if not all of our attention there. We don't get stuck in the mental body. We don't have stuck emotions so much in the emotional body. We continue to work and integrate and embrace. So all of the practices that we did today help us become more aligned. And all the teachings that I shared with you help you become more aligned so that you're not wishy-washy. You don't have to go ask 17 people, should I do this? What do you think? We are clear on who we are and we take aligned action towards that. So it's not about being busy and just doing a lot of stuff. It is about being focused and knowing whether something is aligned, and if it's not, then it doesn't need to show up in our lives. Okay, so our aligned actions for this week. Number one, I would recommend exploring the strategic self-care process around anything. Maybe you're having a challenge in your life. Maybe you are wanting to incorporate a new skill set. Maybe a limiting belief has showed up. And anytime you have a situation that doesn't really go the way that you have, want, or you're really not finding that you're able to go with the flow, there's a limiting belief there. So do the strategic self-care process. And again, the parts of it are, number one, get curious. So ask yourself the questions around that. What do I think about this? What else is there to learn about it? What do I know about it already? And what are the thoughts and beliefs and habits I have around it? So that's part one. Part two is get connected. And questions for that are, what do I really want? You want to get connected with what your true desire is, and that helps you get clarity. And how would I love to get there? And what are my, the biggest possible dreams I can dream for myself? So that's part two, that's getting connected. And then the third part is get creating, take some action towards it, and do an experiment, do a case study, and see how it goes. And then you've got some information. If it went well, great, do more of that. Parts of it didn't go well, then you know where to focus and do something different. All right, so I recommend doing that strategic self-care process this week for any part of your life that you would love to improve. That's aligned action number one. And remember, you can learn more about the strategic self-care process in my latest book, Not Your Mama's Self-Care Guide. Okay, and then number two, aligned action number two, would be the affirmative stretching. Maybe you go to the episode before this one and get part one, where I am being human, and then we connect with the divine masculine and the divine feminine energy, so they're flowing and supporting us. And maybe you piece those together. Or maybe you just do the ones from this week about the past and the future and the present. So that would be my recommendation. Do that every day. It'll take you a minute and it will help you become more present. And then a suggestion, aligned action number three is on my website, and in the notes for the show, I have a free resource for you called the Daily Self-Care Checklist. And the Daily Self-Care Checklist is not just a checklist, it's a teaching on how you can incorporate more courageous self-care into your life, not just the external kind. I'm all for, nice skin and putting beautiful products on and doing external self-care and that kind of thing. And we also want to harmonize that with internal self-care, the stuff on the inside, like what I've been sharing today, that makes a huge difference and actually makes all of the external self-care so much easier. So those you can click on, you can go to my website, ChristinaMarlett.com. And Marlett is Marlett, and it's Christina with a CH. It's in the notes for this show. And you'll find it on the homepage, the Daily Self-Care Checklist. That's what I called it. And that's a free download for you. So that is aligned action number three. So to recap, we've got the strategic self-care process, and we've got the affirmative stretching. And then if you like, for the bonus, you could practice the atomic judgment process if you notice judging coming up. And then the final thing is the daily self-care checklist. I love for you to be armed with what works. And let's just come back to that last idea the idea at the beginning that self-care is not this vague thing. You can be really strategic about it. And that's part of my intention of sharing this information with you on this show, is to give you ideas that maybe you haven't been doing so that you can get strategic with your self-care. It is not about deserving. It is not about your self-worth. Self-care is a skill set and you can learn to practice it. And I'm giving you the exact ways that you can incorporate that into your life. So that brings us to the end of our show today. Thank you so much for being here. I've loved spending this time with you, and I send you so much love and high vibe energy and vitality. I look forward to being with you next week. I'm your host, Christina Marlette. You've been watching the Courageous Self-Care Experience on Bold Brave TV. Thank you for spending this hour with me. I hope it has felt expansive and you've had some new ideas and some confirmation of how great you're already doing. I appreciate you taking time to watch the show, and I will see you again next week. Bye for now.
This has been the Courageous Self-Care Experience with host Christina Marlette. Tune in each week as Christina will offer up live laser coaching where her compassionate reframes help you see the bigger picture, shift your perspective, and return to inner peace, no matter what's going on. You'll leave with a weekly aligned action to get your energy flowing and your life glowing. Thursdays, 12 noon Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network, powered by B2 Studios.